talk about the circular economy this morning, and I'd like to start by asking for a show of hands. How many people in this room have ever used a circular economy platform? Raise your hands. How many have never used one? Or used one once or twice? Okay, well, we still had a pretty good show of hands. And now we're going to ask the online audience to also take the poll so we can see. So the results in the room are very encouraging because although more than 100 billion tons of materials are extracted from the planet annually, only 7.2% are cycled back into the global economy, according to the 2023 Circularity Gap Report. The world used more virgin resources in the last 10 years than in the previous century. More than 90% of materials are either wasted, lost, or remain unavailable for reuse for years as they are locked into long-lasting stock, such as buildings and machinery. To limit global warming to a 2-degree increase, we need a holistic shift towards circularity. The energy transition is already well underway, but the other 50% of factors leading to climate change have to do with materials, and we're just scratching the surface there. There's a business opportunity to combine good economic models with addressing big environmental problems. And not surprisingly, startups are leading the way. So we have representatives here this morning from 3 successful circular economy scale-ups that are going to share their journeys and what they've learned along the way. To my immediate left is Julie Lejeune, who is the head of Germany, Austria, and the UK at Vestiaire Collective. Next to her is Katie Medlock, who is the UK General Manager for refurbished devices online marketplace, Back Market. And we have Sandrine Zhang-Ferron, who is the CEO and co-founder of Vinterior. So I think we'll start by asking each of you to describe your platform, its mission, its value proposition, objectives, the markets that you're in, and the number of sellers and buyers. So Julie, let's start with you.
Yes, for sure. So Vestiaire Collective was created in 2009. So with the ambition of changing the way people were consuming fashion. The point of view from our founders back at that time was that a lot of people have incredible wardrobe, but that we're using less and less, and that it was growing and growing. So what they wanted to do is really fight against 2 main things, which is overconsumption and therefore also overproduction, and creating the biggest giant wardrobe possible. We're going to celebrate 15 years next year, and in this time we're now operating in more than 80 countries, where we are offering a catalog of more than 5 million products across the world. So of course our ambition is to create big hubs like in the US, in Europe, so products don't tend to travel too much, but really having this global wardrobe view for our consumer. We're mainly focusing on luxury goods and luxury products, so offering timeless and pieces that, from the quality perspective, can have a second life.
Okay, thank you very much. Kate.
Hello, Katie, GM for the UK for Back Market. Back Market is the leading marketplace for refurbished electronics. So we want to make sure there's no reason why you would choose to buy a new electronic anymore, because particularly as we see the market of new features on products each year that get rolled out lesser and lesser, there's absolutely no reason why your iPhone 11, your iPhone 13 won't last you for a good 3-4 years more longer. So we're fighting sort of planned obsolescence in the tech and device space. Like many here today, we are a French company founded in 2014, 3 French founders, and we moved into the UK about 3 years ago, just on the eve of Brexit. We have 10 million customers worldwide. In terms of the sellers, it varies hugely from different countries. So for the UK, where we have a closed market, we have less than 200, but globally there's 1,500 sellers. We're in much less countries than you, only 18, with UK, Germany, France, Spain, and the US being our core markets.
Great, thank you. Sandrine, tell us a little bit about Vinterior.
Yeah. I start with a question to the audience. Do you know how many pieces of furniture the UK throw away each year?
Oh, God.
It's 10 million. 10 million, and the majority is new furniture, because fast furniture is just not meant to be lasting for long, and it can't be repaired. So a few years ago, when I moved home, obviously I wanted to move away from fast furniture, find something more durable, and spend all my weekend looking for the perfect pieces. Spending all my weekend to shops. I wanted to have the perfect yellow chair, matching my cat's eyes. And going to the new design shop, everything was so expensive, and when you find something that you like, you have to wait for 16 weeks, and that was before all the supply chains we see today. So I was more interested in vintage because it's already available, it's more affordable, it's durable, it's been around for 50 years, maybe 200 years, so it's gonna last. And it's just add more character. But spending 3 months finding one chair, I thought that can't be possible. So that's how I had the idea for Vinterior, an easy platform to help people to buy and sell quality pre-owned furniture. So basically we help buyers access a large selection of those unique pieces, help them find very quickly without spending all that time going through shops or around different sites, wondering about, is this authentic, is it fake? And also if you bought furniture, understand how delivery is a pain, so the marketplace make it very convenient to have your item delivered within a week. For sellers, we have started focusing on B2B sellers, so we work with 2,000 dealers across 30 countries in Europe and 400,000 SKUs, so we help those sellers access a very targeted audience who value pre-owned design. And we have recently opened up our platform to C2C with Vinterior Resell in April this year, because our audience of design lovers love to resell because they like to decorate very often. So we also help them with the logistic, picking up, delivering to the customers. So we're in 30 countries on the supply side, but on demand side, very much focused on the UK market since we've been around for 7 years now.
So what impact do you think you're having in terms of like offsetting all of these however million pieces of furniture are thrown away every year?
Yeah, so our industry, unfortunately, is very wasteful. Just the cost of manufacturing, the materials, the emission, everything that ends on the landfill. So for us, we're thinking that each piece that we help, transact being second hand, it's saving the planet from a new pieces of furniture needing to be produced. And especially, like if you compare, let's say maybe a more premium sofa that will be costing maybe 2,000 pounds versus a sofa costing 200 pounds. The sofa costing 200 pounds obviously is more affordable and is great to give people access to affordable design. But if one piece is broken, you can't repair it. The staple can't be removed. Everything needs to be thrown away, and just not be. It wasn't designed to last. So, for us, it's really to help people think differently when it comes to furniture. You don't need to sacrifice quality or affordability to get something which is durable, good quality, and also better for the planet.
Katie, how does Back Market measure impact?
Yeah, of course. We've got two types of environmental impact that we're fighting. The first is e-waste. You think about the electronics that you own. A lot of them are very bulky, and a huge amount of them end up in landfill every year. So the same logic, we're trying to prevent that, not just by prolonging the life, encouraging repair, but when you do need a new phone or a new whatever, that you're looking to buy refurbished first. And one thing that people aren't so aware of with e-waste is how toxic it is. So of all the waste that's in landfills, about 75% of what's toxic is coming from electronics. So that's our first port. The second is also around carbon, and I'm really pleased that Back Market is really putting this first. I think about our company updates, our Some Hands, our Monday briefs. We have the numbers, here's what's happening in all of the countries, here's how much GMV we're earning, and then right next to that is the amount of carbon emissions that we're saving. And the thing with refurbished is because let's take a phone. Back market is electronics wide, but let's take a phone. It is so carbon intensive to produce something so tiny. The amount of raw materials, the amount of water, the amount of power produced this tiny little device, whereas refurbished, through a study we did with ADEME, the French Environment Agency, showed that refurbished is actually 90% less on a lot of those metrics, water, raw materials, and energy. So from a carbon footprint perspective, buying refurbished is a really easy, logical, and affordable choice that you can make around your carbon footprint. So we've really, this is our reason for being. It really is. And since our start in 2014, we've saved more than 1 million tons. And this year just gone, it was 300,000. So that amount that we're saving each year is growing incrementally.
Sandrine, when we were talking in preparing for this panel, you were saying that, part of the challenge for your company is setting up the logistics, because you have to, when someone finds this beautiful piece of furniture online, somehow you have to get it to them. And that, it's difficult to be 100% green from day one. So how have you handled that issue?
Yeah, it is absolutely. And so I think, first we just focus on the product we were helping to adapt, and obviously a pre-owned sofa produce 0 carbon because it's not being produced, where like a new one produces 90 kilogram of CO2, which is, I think, like driving for 600 kilometers. But then obviously, what about delivery? What about packaging, right? So sometimes if you have to package, wrap mirrors, there's a lot of bubble wrap going on. So that's our challenges that we are going to tackle in the future. So we are going to start by just offsetting the carbon of the deliveries. That's something we are planning for Q4. And obviously going forward, how can we facilitate electric deliveries and better packaging?
So I think if you agree, the message here is these are new kind of platforms, and it requires a lot of different pieces to be put into place. And if you wait until everything is perfect, we'll never, get to a circular economy. So you have to get started. Getting started is one thing, scaling is another. And your company has now, expanded to 80 countries. Tell us a little bit about, how you managed to scale.
Yes, at Vestiaire, we really believe that technology, we are by essence the fact that we're a platform, that we're very asset-free. I mean, we're not owning product, we're a C2C platform mainly, so it's really like customer to customer. We're just like an intermediate, offering them a secured and trusted platform because we're proving that the items are legit. So by essence, our platform is really scalable, highly scalable, but we also wanted to use technology at every stage in order to make sure that we go even beyond. So we're thinking and introducing technologies in the way where product data and the way we present like the product, so that we can really like scale this. So for example, using price recommendation algorithm in order to make sure that we're bringing the correct price to the user and helping the community to get to this point of secondhand, or also favoring local to local, because as we said, yes, we're operating in 80 countries, but the aim is exactly what you mentioned. If you're delivering a product from London to New York, has also an impact that we want to avoid if we can find the exact same product actually sitting in London. So we're using really like throughout the whole customer journey technology, so that basically we're bringing the customer closer to the circularity movement. The idea is really, how can you buy a second-hand product the same way with the same easiness that you will buy a first-hand product? So really satisfy our customer the best way when it comes to quality, when it comes to speed, when it comes to customer service. So enabling us to go throughout the full process.
So you mentioned the role of technology. In what way, and because we're going to talk a lot about AI and generative AI today, in what way is AI helping to unlock bottlenecks, either for seller quality levels in the case of back market? How are you using AI?
AI specifically, I actually was talking to the AI team about this yesterday, looking ahead of the conference, and they sort of looked at me quite puzzled and said, well, we've been using AI in a way for years before it was even called AI. So I empathize with these product teams who have suddenly coping with our obsession with the new tech and the buzzwords. But for us, one thing that we're really doing, your comment about trying to make the experience look just like new is one. And I think if you walk into an electronics store, let's take Apple, the big giant that we are facing. You walk into an Apple store and you have tech geniuses coming to help you make the right choice. What size of storage do you really need? What screen do you actually need? Why is this model better than this model? So that's something that Back Market's trying to introduce to make our purchase experience and just like new. However, of course, when you're a lower margin product, because cost is a big reason to buy refurbished electronics as well as the environment, obviously we haven't got the same margins to have this big glossy store that you have for Apple. So we're using AI through the form of a monster ambassador, which is a cute little character we've made out of electronics and wires and old pieces of phones that we've used before in campaigns to help customers make the right tech choice and devices for them. And the reason for doing that is to provide the support that you would get if you were buying new. And that's been our growth hack, really, is to make sure that the experience you would buy having a new electronics, and that's not just from the online purchasing experience, but the customer care, returns, warranties, guarantees, split payments. We're making it so there's no logical reason to purchase something new, from the product itself to the purchasing experience, and AI is helping us with that.
So, Sandrine, you learned to code when you launched the company. How are you using technology at Vinteriors?
Yes, and especially talking about AI, it's mostly around 3 pillars. Obviously, productivity gains, whether it's operationally or helping our engineering team, think about the problem instead of writing code. Customer support, obviously helping, craft answers, like be automated, detect maybe sensitive topics in the mountain of inquiries. And the last one, I think most important, is product discovery. Today we have 400,000 on the platform. Each one is unique, so there is no standardization. There is no ISO code, some items don't even have a brand. So how do you help customers who have very different tastes, needs, and budgets to find the perfect piece and not be overwhelmed? So the idea is to use AI, obviously, to help with all our data, product classification, taxonomy, and search, but also thinking forward, how can we create an experience where going to Vinterior is not an alternative to going to shop, but an alternative to hiring an interior designer to propose you 3 mood boards. So that's really where we see the potential of AI.
So it was also mentioned earlier, this importance of the, local to local and localizing markets. So, starting here in Europe, you don't have the advantage of one single market. So can you talk a little bit about the challenges of scaling across different markets in Europe and how you have confronted those challenges? Who would like to take that?
I can go first. The earlier you answer, the easier, because it hasn't been covered yet. Jokes aside, let's take the EU example where, I mentioned we have 18 countries. A good majority of those countries are within the EU. And for us, you very much have the possibility then of a French seller selling in Spain, Germany, etc. You have different customer expectations, you have different purchase methods, and you also have different languages. So one really bold move I think Back Market took about a year ago actually was, as opposed to having our sellers, which would be a true marketplace model, being customer care, we started offering a solution where Back Market agents acted on behalf of the sellers, so that all of our customer care was being delivered by an internal team. That originally became a service that our sellers could opt in for, but it was so successful in solving that consistency problem, that cross-language, cross-cultural problem, that we've actually made it a mandatory part now of doing business on Back Market. It's a bold move. I don't think it's something that's commonly happening in many marketplaces, but we've seen a huge improvement. So we measure our customer service on Star, and that's shot through the roof since doing this. It means that everybody's getting a consistent service. And again, if you compare buying refurbished or buying secondhand in some cases, but in ours refurbished, we want to make it like buying new. What does buying new have? If you go to a common retailer like a Currys or an Apple, all the customer service is run by the brand. So this challenge of being a marketplace and not, owning your entire customer journey, we've really overcome that, plus that cultural and language barrier by offering the service. It was quite a difficult rollout. You can imagine all of our sellers, some of them really big B2B businesses, who are running white label refurbishing programs and trade-in programs for some of the UK's biggest telco, and actually saying, we think we're going to do your customer service better than you. It was a bold move, but it's really paid off, and it's helped that country-to-country difference big time.
Okay. How are you handling it?
Yeah, well, I have to complain about Brexit, right?
No, don't worry.
So, in our category, vintage and antique goods, you already have different VAT treatments between margin scheme, 20%. You add to that, like each country having a different VAT regime. It's really a nightmare. That perspective, that obviously, just moving products across the border and potentially having to deal with an unexpected 20% added to your price, that's really something we want to avoid for our customer, and which we are still working through.
And Julie?
Yes, I think to me it comes first to the difference that we observe in the customer base, because from German to a UK customer, to market that I'm leading, we have very different level of knowledge when it comes to secondhand. It comes from historical element. So in Germany, it's more seen as thrift shop and quite low quality. You go to these shops when you really want something cheap. Whereas here in London and in the UK, it has a bit more this notion of creativity and expression of yourself. So already by how much customers are willing to buy secondhand and also to sell, because we're a supply-driven business and we need to be auto-sufficient. So we need to get the supply and the demand within the same population. So already by this we see completely different perception throughout the European market that needs to also resonate differently in different messages. So it has a notion of how do you position your brand, how do you speak to the different crowd and knowledge. So some markets need way more education. We were talking about this with Cathy before. Germany and UK needs facts, when France needs a bit more of storytelling. So how do you take this? So that's the first thing that is more on the brand and on the consumer. And after taking this on the platform, there is also definitely different tastes when it comes to fashion, because fashion in Germany is very different than in France. So we are again using technology and AI in order to localize our product catalog, in order to localize when you're typing nice dress, what is coming out in Germany versus in France, and facilitating the customer choices here as well using technology.
Thank you, Julie. So now I want to move into, how can collaborations between digital platforms like yours and governmental bodies and other stakeholders expedite the transition towards a circular economy? Do you want to start, Julie?
Yeah, totally. So we're at a crucial moment where today circular economy, we need to change the regulation, we need to change the law, because we're still very much on the previous model. And there is a lot of definition that needs to be done. And this work can only be done by actually putting all the actors together and step by step, because how do you find we're fast fashion brand? At Vestiaire last year, because our mission first is to fight against overconsumption and overproduction, we decided that we want to ban fast fashion brand from our platform, because this is the brands that are polluting the most and that are finishing in the landfill. But a lot of journalists were questioning us, how do you define a fast fashion brand? And to do this work, this year we grouped a panel of like 9 specialists coming from the fashion industry, but also governmental, from ONGs, to support us into defining this. And the aim is to take this definition and to make like the whole industry have a thought and go a step further. So at Vestiaire, we really like see ourselves as also leading this movement. So we have a couple of initiatives. So this one, fast fashion, is one of them. We also were the first one having an impact report, because this is one of your first questions. How do you measure impact? Yes. In order to have sustainability and in order to have secondhand, not just a trend, but lasting, and also making more people aware and people like reassured, we need to give fact, we need to give number, and we also need to give at some point some incentive. So our top management and our chief sustainability and impact officer are working very closely, even with institutions like Commission Européenne, so the European Commission, in order to change the way we are like VAT on second-hand products, you know? Like this would be the way that we could accelerate on those categories. If tomorrow customers really receive like an incentive, so it's a job that we're doing cross, and for this we are partnering with Back Market, Vinted, other platforms from our industry to really come together around the table and define those new rules.
Super interesting, because you know, in the fashion industry, not everyone can afford luxury goods, and so, you know, cheaper clothing will be produced, and the question is then what happens to it. Yep. And I moderated at another conference, a panel about circular economy with fashion, and there was a producer of sports shoes on the panel, and the person was saying, look, we have integrated recyclable materials into our shoes. We've had programs to encourage consumers to like bring back the shoes to the store and all that. It doesn't work, you know. Basically, what she was saying was that you need to have the whole ecosystem on the board, including the government. So if you had recycling bins next to the glass and paper where people could bring shoes or bring fast fashion clothing, and the materials within it could be recycled, but it will take a whole ecosystem in order to do that. You need new types of factories that can separate the materials. You need, you know, collection systems in cities, and none of that will happen without government.
And you need to start. So in order to, again, prove, like so it's been a year that we banned some fast fashion brands from our platform. A lot of people were questioning us, okay, but what are those users of fast fashion brand going to do? And we had the conviction that by educating them, by giving them opportunities to buy differently, they will change their behavior and they will change their consumer behavior. And this is exactly what happened. We made some like pre and post tests, and we see that 70% of fast fashion buyers move and upscales to better product. So it's actually something that takes time, and that is mostly an educational element that our industry needs to work on, but that people are changing the behavior if we give them the opportunity to do so.
Katie, what could governments do to incentivize people to buy refurbished products?
We've had some great traction with this in France. Well, we're in EU with Brussels, but let out of France for us. So, for example, the eco-design principles. So from 2025, we've passed, we passed some regulation. Not true. Sorry, you can tell that I'm very proud of what the team and how they've contributed to this in our public affairs team. But the eco-design principles basically is making sure that our electronics are produced in a way that is sort of fighting that planned obsolescence again. So this is everything from making sure that your parts are available, for repair, that there's instructions on how to do so. It's very linked to that right to repair movement that's happening as well. And so now, from 2025, new OEMs for phones or electronics made in Europe will have to follow these eco-design principles. And for us, it's game-changing, because you think about it from a consumer perspective. if you're buying refurbished, you expect it to be at a lower price point. But for our refurbishers trying to refurbish at a really high quality to meet that price point, you end up with a really difficult context of margins here if those parts are really, really expensive. So with this eco-design, making sure that parts are really readily available and that they are designed with the ecology first in mind is meaning that our refurbishers will have better access to readily available parts to actually continue to do their work. So this is now regulation. It's been a huge working group and a lot of work to lobby and to sway that, but it's absolutely game-changing for us and for our refurbishers and for the environment as well, because it's really enabling the work that they do. And I think if we weren't to see regulation like that change, you would see OEMs continuing the cycle of planned obsolescence and making this really difficult for companies like us.
Okay. Sandrina, I saw your eyes flashing when Julie mentioned VAT. You want to talk about that?
You want to talk about VAT?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, why tax the same items every time it's been resold, right? It has been already taxed at the beginning. And if you want to encourage people to reuse, resell, instead of extracting the landfill, just cut the VAT. I think that's, what the government can do as an incentive. And I think that could also do more to encourage transparency, right, for the brand, because it starts at a design point of the piece of furniture or electronic or fashion piece. It's like, is it designed to last, to be repairable, reusable, recyclable? And often it's not. And I think encouraging, or forcing brands to be very transparent on the actual expected shelf life or lifetime of an item, because maybe, you will buy something at £200, it's very cheap, but the moment you break something, it's at the landfill and it loses 95% of the value when you receive it. Whereas if you were putting maybe a bit more money, you will have a product of better quality with better material that will last longer and also return better the resale value. Because if we look at the inventory of interior, actually the items don't depreciate as fast furniture, obviously, but also gain value over time.
Mm. Okay. How much time do we have? 5? Okay. Thank you. So if you were going to do a call to action, we talked about VAT, we talked about discouraging fast fashion. What are some other calls to actions that you would have for government and consumers? I
would say maybe for government and businesses, maybe talk the talk and walk the walk. I would be very curious to know how many government buildings have second-hand furniture, because office furniture is has a huge environmental impact. For consumer, it's a very simple call to action. Whenever you buy a Christmas gift, maybe can you think about if there is a second-hand alternative? And I think each person in the UK received 2 unwanted gifts, and 1/5 of that end up in a landfill. So maybe resell it, don't throw it away, try to resell it. There will be a platform for that.
Thank you. Kate.
For government, it's definitely jump on this right to repair and provide some good, robust regulation that will really stop this e-waste problem, because it is growing and it is terrible. For consumers, we ran a really great PR study earlier this year, can't remember, but it was when we launched our trade-in program in the UK. And we ran a consumer study that showed that the average Brit had something like £4,000 of tech and devices sitting in their top drawer. So that's, in a cost of living crisis, quite a lot of cash sitting there doing nothing. And in an environmental crisis, it's a hell of a lot of valuable raw materials that you could literally be trading in, earning cash from, and buying second-hand Christmas presents.
Okay. Julie.
Yes, for government, I think really today, affordability is still the first driver to buy secondhand. And I believe that if the government is even more encouraging this, the speed of the development of our platform will get even faster. Because, and this leads to the second point, which is from the consumer perspective. We also had some internal study that shows that buying a second-hand product at Vestiaire is what is avoiding 80% of the customer to buy new. So we really believe that once you enter into this movement, you really stick to it and you buy, like, you think. So what we mean is like think first and buy second, you know, and it's really this encouragement, and we believe that once you start and once you're happy with the quality of your refurbished iPhone or your second-hand clothes, that actually is not always like second-hand, can be new with tag. Like we see this category of our website also increasing, but it's like, how do you bring back those type of products in the circular environment?
So if you were going to say what was the one key takeaway you'd like people to have from this panel, would you say it would be
Start
that?
now. I think you need to try. If you haven't tried, just try it. Explore, discover, make a first purchase for you, for friends, for Christmas, like, and see how it goes. And I'm pretty sure that you will stick with it. The barriers are very often, and they can be, I can understand them, but they're also very easy to break.
Katie, what's your?
Yeah, it's pretty similar, the start by starting kind of logic. We had a bit of a detox in our house around the time that we had a baby, because all of a sudden you have this thing that needs to consume all this stuff. And so we were pretty hot on the old Amazon in the first month of those desperations of like, how do I fix this? And then month 3, we had a policy of nothing new. And we did it for 30 days to create a habit where we just banned ourselves from buying absolutely anything new. Would I say that I've gone back and kept that value in its entirety of nothing new? No, every now and again I see the place for it, I need to. But I would say that it's made me a much more conscious consumer in terms of the things that I think about first and then buy after. So I'm going to share that message of start by starting.
Okay, and Sandrine.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on what you said. So, you know, go for resale. It's good for your wallet. It's good for the planet.
And let's end on a note about the business opportunity, because really I think this is probably one of the biggest ones going forward. So, you know, moving from encouraging consumers to do this to maybe motivating some of the entrepreneurs in the audience or even large companies who might be thinking about becoming part of a circular economy platform. What advice would you have for them?
We're actually having what we call resale as a platform services. So last week, actually, we announced our partnership with Burberry, so one of the biggest luxury house here in the UK. We are becoming their official secondhand retail platform partners, meaning that your Burberry customers, you have a trench that you're not using anymore or a bag, you can go through their platform or go through their shop and give it for resale. And Vestiaire is handling 100% of the operation. You just get a voucher to repurchase, like at Burberry. So there has been a lot of luxury houses that are partnering with Vestiaire now. We announced Chloe earlier this year, Gucci, and this is exactly what you were saying, which is those those luxury houses before were seeing us either as a competitor, or were looking at us like we cannot bring this quality and level of service that luxury house is bringing. And slowly they're completely shifting their way of looking at us, bringing them as their partners to encourage circularity, encourage loyalty, and also really bringing value to the company, because this is creating this like longer customer life cycle, re-engagement with the company. And the way they shifted from seeing Vestiaire as purely and sustainability as a marketing tool to also a business driver, this is where the movement is starting.
Super. Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, for me, I can't speak for the opportunities within it, but just reiterating the size of the opportunity. You know, back market for one, we've got 10 million customers, like I said. We've, you know, one of France's most highly valuable and fastest growing unicorn. We've raised $1 billion in our history. And I think that all stands as testament to the fact that consumers are ready for this now. You know, your poll at the beginning of how many people have used a circular economy platform would have been looking very, very different 5 and definitely 10 years ago. So I think, you know, we're at the crux of a lot of trends in our industry that we're in now, where you've got the cost of living crisis and an environmental crisis, and for us, the digital divide as well. So I think, you know, this is not an academic's dream anymore. This is a very realistic, growing segment.
I think it's not an accident that you left the world of finance to go into this direction, because I suppose you also see this as a big business opportunity.
Yes, and it's just a beginning, right? Because I think furniture resale is expected to be 22 billion within 3 years, but only 2% of all furniture transacting is actually second-hand. And when you think that about the overall furniture market, removing fast furniture, there is 40 billion of new premium quality furniture entering the market every year. So each new piece is a candidate for resale. So that's just a beginning.
Well, with that, I'm going to ask you to give a nice round of applause to our panelists. Thank you very much.